Buenos días.
Good morning.
¿Podría usted presentarse a sí mismo?
Can you introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Olle Johansson. I work at the Department of Neuroscience at the Karolinska Institute in Stockholm, Sweden.
El neurocientífico Olle Johansson lleva más de 30 años investigando los efectos de los campos electromagnéticos. Es médico, profesor e investigador y trabaja en el Departamento de Neurociencias del Instituto Karolinska de Estocolmo, uno de los centros de investigación y enseñanza médica más avanzados del mundo. Es coautor del informe Bioinitiative 2007 y uno de los expertos internacionales que participó en la Declaración de Seletun en el 2009. Ha publicado más de 500 artículos científicos originales, revisiones e informes en el ámbito de la neurociencia. El Dr. Johansson ha visitado por primera vez España a finales de 2013 para asistir a una jornada sobre medio ambiente y salud en Barcelona, donde no se ha cansado de repetir que es urgente y necesario aplicar el principio de precaución y retirar por lo menos los wifi de los lugares públicos y de las escuelas, tal como ya ha recomendado la Comisión Europea. Las evidencias científicas sobre los riesgos para la salud que implican los campos electromagnéticos artificiales, telecomunicaciones y tecnologías de energía eléctrica son desbordantes. Mientras tanto, la industria, los gobiernos y los medios de comunicación siguen ignorando descaradamente el asunto. Continúan haciendo más caso a los estudios que niegan los efectos perniciosos. El Dr. Johansson, sin embargo, denuncia que la mayoría de estos estudios están pagados por la industria. Así que mientras en los medios de comunicación mayoritarios siguen apareciendo expertos que defienden la inocuidad de los móviles o de las redes Wi-Fi, algunos científicos como el Dr. Johansson viven amenazados de muerte.
¿Qué hace exactamente un neurocientífico? ¿Qué estudia?
What do you do exactly? What does a neuroscientist do?
We study the brain, the spinal cord, and the peripheral nervous system, and try to understand how these various cells communicate with each other as well as with the body.
Cuando yo era pequeña en la escuela,
When she was small at the school,
nos explicaban que solamente conocemos el 5% de cómo funciona el cerebro. ¿Es cierto que conocemos tan poco del cerebro, de cómo funciona?
Oh, that's a very good question. The brain is sort of the central command central that will collect all the information from the environment and make you move towards or away from things, events. It could be anything, you know, and it will guide you through your life. And it also, of course, contains the higher brain functions, such as memory, intelligence, etc.
Pero la pregunta es más profunda.
the question is more goes more in the depth. Yeah.
¿Realmente sabemos todo lo que hace el cerebro o hay una parte que todavía desconocemos cómo funciona?
Oh, that's also a very intelligent question. Some neuroscientists, they want to believe that we actually understand the entire central and peripheral nervous system and what it does, but most say that we don't understand all the details. And as you probably know, one of the largest scientific projects ever launched was launched this year by the European Union and a corresponding project in the United States, and it's called the Human Brain Project.
¿Y esto qué es?
And what is this?
One has given in the order of 1 billion euros to understand the human brain and to construct a model in computers, a computerized model to mimic the brain, and in that way be able to further investigate, understand, and build communication interfaces with gadgets such as prostheses. In the future, you will have like your arm prosthesis that you can really manipulate and move and understand in quite another way. That's the dream, to be able to then understand and project knowledge into using, for instance, prostheses. When your arm is cut in a car accident, you get the prosthesis, and in the future, you will have sort of an ideal biological prosthesis that you can run through your brain interface. That's the dream.
O sea, que es cierto que realmente no sabemos exactamente cómo funciona al 100%.
So is it true that we don't know really how it works, the brain, 100%?
That is definitely true, and there are many molecular and cellular details that needs to be investigated further.
Me llama la atención de su currículum que aparte de neurocientífico también es el director de la unidad de dermatología.
Not but experimental dermatology. And of course, the skin is the interface between each human being and the rest of the universe. And therefore, the brain needs to monitor this interface very detailed and very clearly.
El cerebro necesita monitorizar esta unión muy claramente y muy definitivamente.
Because, as you know, apart from the eyes, the skin is the only way for the brain to really see the outer world and to feel changes in temperature, touch, vibration, itch, pain, etc. And in that way, the brain knows where to go and where not to go. Like if you would go to Sweden, you will get very cold, and the brain would tell you, please put on a jacket, a sweater, more sweaters, more jackets, you know, because it's very cold. And if you go back here, the brain would tell you the opposite. Now you can get rid of some of this clothing because it's warmer here.
Usted hizo la tesis en 1983, creo.
You did the test in 1983.
Que se llamaba neuropéptidos en el sistema nervioso central y periférico.
Yeah, that's my PhD thesis, actually, yes.
Sí, ese fue su doctorado, sí.
Ok. ¿Nos puede explicar brevemente
Can you explain briefly
qué son los neuropéptidos? ¿Cuál es su función?
what are the neuropeptides? What is
Nerve
the
cells
function?
communicate with chemical signals. And then it was discovered that some of them are so-called neuropeptides,
Que algunos se llaman neuropéptidos,
which are short chains of amino acids.
que son cortos cambios de aminoácidos.
And before this discovery,
Y antes de este
one knew
descubrimiento,
that there could be like norepinephrine, serotonin, and acetylcholine as signal substances. But suddenly, we got all these neuropeptides as well.
Ajá. ¿Está esto relacionado con el tema de las radiaciones electromagnéticas que nos ocupa hoy?
Is this related with the electromagnetic fields that we are talking in today?
Yes,
Sí.
it turned out that some of these cells containing neuropeptides are affected.
Pasa que algunas de las células que contienen neuropéptidos son afectadas por esta radiación.
¿Cómo entra usted en contacto por primera vez con el tema de las radiaciones y sus efectos?
Yeah, it was just by accident. I was listening to radio one evening and I heard a program where a lady was asking for expertise in the field of neurobiology. Yeah.
Neurobiología.
Yeah. And then I called her and
llamó.
said that we may be able to help her because she was describing persons that had got skin problems in front of computer screens.
¿Y estudió usted este tema?
And you studied this subject?
Yes, we did.
Sí, lo
And
entiendo.
we very soon found ourselves in several different projects aiming to understand these skin problems.
¿Y qué descubrió usted exactamente? ¿Qué
you-
problema descubrió?
What did you discover exactly?
Oh,
What problem?
yeah, very early we discovered a huge number of different changes in these person's skin. And among them was changes in their immune system
Entre ellos había cambios en su sistema inmunitario
and also the protective layer against various forms of radiation was altered.
Sus estudios epidemiológicos han demostrado que las redes inalámbricas perjudican la salud.
You don't use epidemiology for that. You need
No.
direct laboratory studies, and the answer is yes.
Okay. He utilizado esta palabra
She used this word
porque supuestamente los epidemiólogos son los médicos encargados de controlar los factores relacionados con la salud. Y me pregunto dónde están los epidemiólogos si están estudiando esta problemática.
We have studied these questions also using epidemiology as well as ecological studies, yes. But you have to remember that
Pero tienes que recordar
epidemiology
los
can only
epidemiologistas
tell you the answer when it's too late.
solo pueden responder cuando ya es demasiado tarde.
So therefore you must have prospective laboratory studies.
O sea, los epidemiólogos aparecen al final.
So epidemiologists appear at the end?
Yes.
Sí.
Suele decirse, cuando se habla de la contaminación electromagnética, en muchos ámbitos, por lo menos aquí en España,
In many areas, at least here in Spain,
que las personas que hablan de esto son pseudocientíficos
that people that talk about this are pseudoscientists
o inexpertos,
or not experts.
porque en realidad no existen estudios serios. ¿Qué piensa usted al respecto?
What do you think about this?
I've never heard that argument, and such pseudoscientists would never be employed at the kind of universities that produce these data. So I just don't understand that, that would be a little bit like saying that the American NIH and the Swedish Karolinska Institute would be employing pseudoscientists. That's a very grave accusation, and I wouldn't dare to do that.
Pero se sigue diciendo que no hay estudios que demuestren que la contaminación electromagnética afecta a la salud. Aquí se sigue diciendo, por lo menos en España.
But again, I just cannot understand that argument,
No puedo entender
because we are talking about
que
thousands and
este debate.
thousands of papers in so-called peer-review-based scientific journals, and having that argument would mean that the editors and the peer reviewers, the referees, all are pseudoscientists. Are these people really serious in these accusations? I
Son
agree
pseudocientíficos.
that, for instance, on the internet, you would find proposals and results and reports and so on that are non-scientific, but they are never used for risk analysis. So that's not a problem.
Pero nunca se usan para hacer análisis. O sea que eso no es el problema.
Hablemos entonces de los estudios, de algunos de los estudios que se han hecho.
Let's talk about the studies that have been done.
Podemos empezar por el estudio Reflex.
We can start for the Reflex study.
¿Puede explicarnos algo al respecto? ¿Qué se descubrió con ese estudio que se publicó?
It's a very big study
Es un gran estudio.
aiming to replicate results seen at the DNA level. And they were able then to show that our genome, our DNA molecules are harmed by microwave radiation.
O sea, me está diciendo que el ADN se desfragmenta a causa de la radiación.
You are saying that DNA is defragmented
Yes.
because of the radiation.
Yes.
¿Demostrado científicamente?
Yes,
Shown
yes.
science.
Esto es muy serio.
This is very serious.
Oh, that's extremely serious, because if these gadgets were, for instance, a food item or a potential pharmaceutical drug, then such a genotoxic effect would immediately stop them to be launched to the public. And also in other studies, it has been shown that there is a risk for cancer, including, for instance, childhood leukemia and brain cancer. And therefore, the World Health Organization has cancer classified both power-frequent magnetic fields and microwaves. And the power-frequent magnetic fields, that's another name for household electricity. And the microwaves are contained within the so-called radio frequency field, where you will find a lot of different systems such as radio, TV, mobile phones, and so on, and they are all included. And one has to remember that the World Health Organization has a class for proven safe exposures, but they didn't put radio frequent fields there or power frequent fields. And the fields, when we talk about childhood leukemia and power frequent magnetic fields, if that should be redone today, scientists claim that then they would lift this one step further up, even more serious cancer claims.
Ayer estuvo usted en unas jornadas
Yes. Yesterday you were on some lectures,
dando una charla
giving a speech,
y dijo usted, refiriéndose al estudio Reflex, que las empresas de telecomunicaciones habían intentado evitar que se publicaran. ¿Nos
Yes.
puede explicar un poquito
Sí.
esto?
Can you explain this a little?
When the results were published,
Cuando los
or
resultados
they were
se
beginning
publicaron.
to try to publish them,
O cuando
then the
empezaron a
telecom industry
publicarse,
tried to stop the publication.
Pero no lo consiguieron.
but they didn't get it.
No,
They
no.
couldn't.
So it's out in the public domain. Yes.
No, es de dominio público.
Pero siguen presionando.
But they still put pressure
O sacando unos propios estudios hechos por ellos.
on putting out their own studies.
The telecom industry doesn't do very much studies on their own, but
No.
they finance a
Nothing.
number of scientists. Yes.
No hacen muchos estudios propios, pero sí que financian a científicos.
Ujú. Después hubo la resolución de Benevento, creo.
Then there was the Benevento
Yeah.
resolution.
Yeah.
Sí.
Usted contaba ayer que los científicos no tienen la costumbre de reunirse habitualmente.
You yesterday said that scientists usually don't meet.
Well, they
Don't have
meet,
meetings.
but they
Sí,
never
se encuentran,
publish that kind of resolutions.
pero nunca publican esta clase de resoluciones.
That's very uncommon.
Y en
Eso es
esta,
muy
en esta ocasión
anormal.
decidieron que era suficientemente importante como para publicar una resolución.
Exactly, and
Exactamente.
there were similar resolutions earlier on the internet,
Antes habían habido,
but they were not
resoluciones.
formally published, and therefore they were just swept aside always. And we decided we have to publish it in a peer-review-based scientific journal. Yeah, and personally, I demanded that we should do that because as scientists, we also have a responsibility to society. And I said we cannot hide resolutions on the internet. We must get them out in the controlled public scientific media.
Creo que una de lo más importante que surgió de la resolución de Benevento fue que se dijo que era muy importante proteger a los niños.
I think so too, actually.
realmente cree que es verdad, de hecho cree que es verdad.
Yeah, and we pointed very clearly to that children has to be protected.
Y señalaron muy claramente que los niños tienen que ser protegidos.
And also that telecom companies should not be allowed to market towards children.
En 2007 aparece el estudio Bioinitiative,
Yes.
con una revisión de más de 2.000 estudios científicos. ¿Participó usted en él de alguna manera?
Did you participate in this?
Yes,
in
I did.
some way?
Because it sort of took its basis from several sources. Yeah, and the Benevento resolution being one of them.
La resolución de Benevento era una de ellas.
Because there we said that someone has to put together the science into a big report. And you know, when you tell the world something, you often have to do it yourself. And therefore we were about 15 scientists who wrote the Bioinitiative report.
Mm.
And it has also been updated the year 2012.
Y se puso al día en el año 2012.
And now it's about 4,000 scientific papers.
¿Sería posible resumir el contenido del Bioinitiative en un minuto?
Oh, yes.
In 1 minute.
Yes, in 1 minute.
Yes.
Sí.
If you are a molecule, a cell,
Si eres una molécula, una célula,
a plant, a
Una planta.
mouse, or a rat,
una rata, un ratón,
you should definitely stay away from these radiation sources. And also, as human beings,
y también
we
como seres humanos
urgently need new exposure guidelines for the public, and they should be based on biology instead of technology,
y tendría que estar basada en la biología y no en la tecnología.
and also based upon safety instead of profit.
Y también basada en la seguridad y no en el aprovechamiento.
Lo tenemos mal.
So we don't have good expectations.
I hope we have good expectations, because
Espera
this
que
is
sí,
also
que
a
tengamos bien.
signal to companies to produce tomorrow's human-friendly technology. For instance, today, it's impossible to sell a computer screen saying that it's a high radiation. Everyone wants to have a low and safe radiation type
Todo el
screen.
mundo quiere tener una pantalla de baja radiación y segura.
Seguimos con la declaración de Seletun.
We go on with the Seletun Declaration.
En 2009 participó usted en una comisión de científicos que se reunió en la ciudad de Seletun, en Noruega,
Yes.
sobre las evidencias científicas existentes sobre la exposición a los campos electromagnéticos, telecomunicaciones y tecnologías de energía eléctrica. Se hicieron 10 recomendaciones, pienso,
They did 10 recommendations, she guessed,
para la salud pública,
for the public health.
y creo que se pueden resumir en que la población mundial está en riesgo.
Yes. And
Sí.
you have to remember that the Seletun statement came from the fact that the bioinitiative report is very big. So we needed a short type version, and instead of 600 pages, it's down to 10 pages.
Así que necesitaban una versión más corta y en vez de tener 600 páginas tiene 10
O
páginas.
sea que es un resumen.
In a way, yes, and also an
Sí, de
expansion of earlier knowledge. Because between the years 2007 and 2009,
Porque entre los años
hundreds
2007
and
y
hundreds and
2009,
hundreds of papers had been published, so we needed to add that.
Y una vez tenemos estas recomendaciones,
once we have these recommendations,
¿a quién se las entregan ustedes? ¿A los gobiernos, a los políticos,
Governments.
a los laboratorios, a los científicos, a las
politicians, lab
empresas? ¿A
scientists,
quién?
companies,
Okay, it's a public paper, so
Yes.
anyone could read it,
es un documento público, cualquiera
but
puede
we
leerlo,
have sent it to governments and parliaments,
Pero
health authorities,
lo enviaron a gobiernos, parlamentos, autoridades de salud,
and a lot of reporters and journalists have asked for copies.
en muchos periodistas y reporteros han pedido copias
And also, it has been discussed a lot in the public media.
y se ha discutido mucho en los medios de comunicación públicos.
But the most common person who wants to read it is actually a parent.
¿Y usted cree que
Do you believe that
realmente se ha aprovechado
that
este
really
conocimiento?
Indeed, they can, and I hope they will.
pueden y espera que lo hagan?
¿Los gobiernos lo han tenido en cuenta?
Rarely, very rarely.
Raramente. Muy
And
raramente.
it doesn't seem to change very much. I'm not so optimistic.
No es muy optimista.
¿Y no serían los responsables?
One.
In a democracy, everyone is responsible,
En una democracia todo el mundo es responsable.
but you know that we elect officials
Los ministros
and
y
we
etcétera,
give them a huge salary
y les damos un enorme sueldo
because we want them to take responsibility for all of us,
porque queremos que sean responsables de todos nosotros,
but they don't always do that.
pero no siempre lo hacen.
So maybe it boils down to that people must do a lot themselves, and they can, of course. They could listen and watch this TV program, and then they could write to their elected officials,
Y pueden escribir a las personas que han elegido para
and they
que
could
las
write
gobiernen.
debate articles in newspapers
Pueden escribir artículos para debatir en los periódicos
and demand a change.
y pedir, exigir un cambio.
¿Pero de qué sirve hacer todo esto
But what is it used for, this?
Si todos tenemos un móvil, por ejemplo,
We all have a mobile phone.
Yes, you have, but I think what it is used for is to develop tomorrow's human-friendly technology.
¿usted cree que los móviles pueden acabar siendo biológicamente compatibles, en realidad?
I don't think so, but I'm not an expert in inventions and technique, but I doubt that. I think you need a wired and shielded system. And very few persons need actually to be mobile.
Muy pocas personas necesitan tener móviles.
Here in Barcelona, when I look at people using mobile phones,
Cuando ven
most
Barcelona,
often they sit down.
¿Le puedo preguntar si tiene usted móvil?
have you got a mobile phone?
I've never had that, and it has nothing to do with this, because when they were introduced in Sweden,
Porque cuando se introdujeron en Suecia,
and that was in the 1980s, early 1980s, they were very big and heavy, and I cannot carry such things around, and they were very expensive,
eran muy caros
and I'm not a rich man,
y no es rico.
and they were only for important people,
Eran
and
solo
I'm
para-
completely unimportant
Eran
now
solo,
and then.
eran solo para gente muy importante y él es una persona que no es importante, entonces y ahora.
So that means at my workplace, I am the only person who eats my lunch undisturbed. But maybe I also profit from the fact that I'm not subjected to the close fields from the mobile phone. So health-wise, maybe I profit.
Hablemos ahora de las enfermedades relacionadas.
Let's talk about illnesses related to this.
Usted no habla de enfermedades, sino de discapacidades funcionales. ¿Puede
Yeah.
explicar un poquito?
Can you
Well,
explain this?
If we talk about electromagnetic fields,
Si
there
hablamos de campos
are
electromagnéticos,
associations to illnesses such as cancer, but then there is also something called electrohypersensitivity, and that is in Sweden viewed as a disability or functional impairment, not a disease.
Incluso reconocida por la ley.
Even the law recognizes this.
Oh yes, yeah, and
Sí.
it has nothing to do with the Swedish law at all,
You need to-
because this is described in the United Nations Convention. And in the United Nations regulations, they stress the fact that functional impairment doesn't need a recognition from anyone. And for instance, here and now,
Aquí y ahora,
we have a situation where I am functionally impaired because I don't know Spanish,
ahora él mismo tiene una discapacidad funcional porque no habla español.
and therefore I need a personal assistant,
Por eso necesita un asistente personal,
but I don't need to ask anyone if I'm allowed not to know Spanish. I decide that. And therefore, the definition of disabilities or functional impairments says it's always personal and private. You do not decide, and you do not decide if I am impaired or not. I decide that. And in the United Nations, various texts about this, they stress this fact very clearly, that a functional impairment is developed from myself in contact with the environment. So if the environment is inferior and I react to it, it's the environment that should be treated, not me. And the interesting part is that these documents, which are very thick, big
Yeah.
books, they have been signed by Spain.
han sido firmados también por España.
Qué interesante.
Very interesting.
Of course, you are part of the United Nations, and
Sois parte de las Naciones Unidas.
all these countries have signed this, meaning that a person with electrohypersensitivity is functionally impaired in Sweden, but also in Spain. And all these documents, they go back to what happened before and after the Second World War in Germany. As you know,
Como
The
sabes,
Nazi members, they killed people with handicaps in Germany in the 1930s and 40s. And therefore, after the
eso,
war, the
después de la guerra,
world said never again. And then these documents were formed.
el mundo dijo nunca más. Y por eso se hicieron estos textos, los
And
textos de las Naciones Unidas.
as you know, as a healthy individual with no disease, no disability, you have a legal umbrella to protect you.
Tienes un refugio legal para protegerte.
If you get a disease, the umbrella gets bigger.
El refugio es como un paraguas. Si tienes una enfermedad, esta protección debe ser más grande.
And
Protección legal.
if you get a disability or functional impairment, it's the biggest umbrella in Spain, in Sweden, and everywhere.
Entonces deberían convertir a Europa en una gran zona blanca.
Yes,
Sí.
yeah. I mean, you have read the United Nations documents because that's exactly what they say is the most important principle.
No,
But you know it still
Pero lo
because
conoces igual.
the UN says that
Las Naciones Unidas
complete
dice
accessibility is the most important. And the interesting part with that is that if we make, as you say, Europe or the whole world to a white zone, then maybe we will not see long-term effects from electromagnetic fields in the future, such as cancer.
hablando,
Smart. Yeah.
brillante.
Yeah.
Hablemos de cáncer y de estrés y asma relacionados con
Let's
esto.
talk about
Explícanos un
cancer,
poquito.
asthma, stress. Can you talk about a little about this?
There are scientific papers showing associations with some of these now rapidly increasing diseases.
Y enfermedades, por ejemplo, las multisistémicas crónicas, como la sensibilidad química múltiple, el síndrome de fatiga crónica o la fibromialgia, ¿están relacionadas con este tema?
Are they associated to this subject?
It doesn't seem to be so clear, no.
No parece claro.
There are indications, but
Son-
not so very clear.
El tema que hemos comentado antes del ADN, del código genético,
The genetical code.
¿esto es un riesgo para la salud de las personas? ¿Qué significa exactamente?
Is this a risk for the health of people? What is it? What does it exactly mean?
That's a very clever question
Es una pregunta inteligente,
because the DNA fragmentation
porque la fragmentación del ADN
could lead to destruction of the immune defense. Yeah, and that also includes the defense against cancer. But probably the most dangerous part is that our sperm cells and egg cells can be severely harmed. And there are quite a number of publications showing that, for instance, male sperm cells should not be close to these gadgets. And other scientists in completely other fields, they have seen that the sperm quality in Europe is going dramatically down. So maybe there is an association between these two.
Creo que aparte de este tema, de las enfermedades, hay otros peligros aparentes,
hay other danger,
como por
apparently.
ejemplo la desaparición de las abejas
Yeah,
o las
yeah.
plantas. ¿Nos puede
Yeah.
hablar un poquito de todo esto, lo que
Yeah.
se conoce, lo que se sabe?
Can you talk about this a little?
There are again a number of studies showing that, for instance, honeybees, different other insects, different plants and so on, they do not like this radiation at all. And we have asked for resources to be able to replicate these kind of results,
Yep.
but we have only got a no.
O sea, no hay seguridad al 100% que esté relacionado.
There is an association, yes, and for a scientist, we want
Sí que lo hay.
to ascertain that this association is true and
Pero-
how it looks like. But at the same time, the whole world is irradiated. So if there is a risk, it's just going on all the time.
Da miedo, ¿no?
So it's scary.
Yeah, in a way, but
Sí, de alguna
it
manera.
also points to
Pero también
that
señala
the current human behavior based upon profit, that
sacar
will
ventaja.
eventually, sometime in the future, become an enormous threat. So even if we don't sort of kill nature by radiation, we will definitely do it with some other profit-driven gadget in the future. And it's very peculiar to see that the world's insurance companies, they do not insure from health effects of electromagnetic fields. And that goes also, with effects of GMOs, gene-modified organisms, and with nanotechnology and so on. And when I talk with people from the insurance companies,
Cuando he hablado con las personas que trabajan en las compañías de seguros,
and I ask them, do you believe there is a risk with electromagnetic fields from mobile phones, for
y
instance?
les ha preguntado, por ejemplo, si hay un riesgo con los campos electromagnéticos que producen los teléfonos móviles.
Then they say, we know
Ya lo
there is a
sabemos,
risk,
dicen, que hay
and
un
we
riesgo.
will not pay for the effect.
Y no pagaremos por los efectos que esto produce.
And they're completely open with this.
Y son muy abiertos respecto a esto.
And their business model is to take on small risks, but not big risks.
Su modelo comercial es tomar pequeños riesgos, pero no grandes riesgos.
So in that sense, they have their own precautionary principle.
So, en ese sentido, tienen su principio de precaución.
And they protect their own stockholders and their own money, of course.
Y protegen a sus propios accionistas y a su propio dinero. Por
And
supuesto.
at the meeting in London 2004,
En la reunión que hubo en Londres en 2004,
they said that they wanted to have the profit, but they wanted to give the cost to society.
Es curioso que toda esta gente se preocupe tanto por su dinero, pero no por su salud.
That's a very good point.
ese es un
I
buen punto.
often think about that because
Muchas veces
they,
piensa sobre esto.
as well as people in government and parliament and health authorities, have
Ellos-
children of their own.
Yo a veces pienso que tienen un refugio en la luna,
Uh,
for example. Because if not,
Porque si no,
I
I don't
mean,
understand.
no lo entiendo.
I cannot understand. I'm a
Yo no
neuroscientist.
Soy un
I'm an
neurocientífico.
expert on the brain.
Soy un
And
experto del cerebro.
still, I cannot understand
Y aún no lo puedo
these
entender.
kinds of risks they take.
Estos riesgos que cogen.
But, from an evolutionary point of view,
Pero desde un punto de vista de la evolución,
the human beings, we are the only species that have an active death wish.
¿Cómo?
You never see, for instance, giraffes with machine guns.
tú
You only see human beings
no-
making war,
nunca podrás ver a una jirafa con armas mortales. En cambio, sí a un ser humano.
And very often it seems that people are blinded by money. And that's what I mean. Somewhere in
Eso
the
es lo que quiere
future, some invention, some company, some profit will kill mankind. And of course, the odd thing with that is
Y por supuesto, la
That-
cosa extraña de todo esto es
all flowers, trees, and all other animals will applaud that. They will be happy then.
y-
But unfortunately, when you look in the scientific literature, as
Yeah.
you said before, we will most likely destroy a lot with electromagnetic fields, GMOs, and so on,
Pero usted que conoce el cerebro humano, ¿no se podría hacer algo para evitar esto?
can-
A nivel del cerebro.
I think what you are doing now is very important.
lo que estás haciendo ahora es muy importante.
You allow people to get informed.
Permites a la gente que esté informada.
They should not trust me,
No tendrían que confiar en mí,
but they should read and think for themselves and make up their mind if they want to have this or not. And hopefully I am wrong.
Y-
It will turn out that there isn't any risk.
y esperar no tener razón y que pase que no hay ningún riesgo.
And then we can be happy. But if the opposite is true and you and I didn't say anything, then we would not be so proud of ourselves.
Es una buena respuesta.
This is a very good answer.
Hablemos un poquito de las investigaciones, de sus investigaciones.
Let's talk about your researches.
¿Quién ha financiado sus investigaciones acerca de todo esto?
Who has funded your
¿La
investigations?
universidad, el gobierno,
University,
usted mismo?
government,
Yes.
yourself?
No.
No.
In Sweden, we have governmental funding agencies as well as private foundations. And you apply.
Privadas.
Private.
Yes.
organization.
Private organizations
Sí.
that collect money and give it to research. And you have
Investigaciones.
to send an application, and they have a lot of experts that will read it and then decide if you get money or not.
¿Y le ha sido fácil encontrar este dinero?
Was it easy to find this money?
No,
No.
it wasn't. But there
No
is
lo fue.
one foundation in Sweden
Pero hay
that
una
has
fundación
done a fantastic job,
en Suecia que ha hecho un gran trabajo.
and it's called the Cancer and Allergy Foundation. But it's very difficult to get funding for this.
Pero es muy difícil encontrar financiación para esto.
¿En algún momento ha recibido usted presiones para no divulgar sus descubrimientos?
Yes, quite
Sí.
often.
Muy a menudo.
Yeah.
Por ejemplo, ¿nos puede explicar?
For example, can
Um,
you tell us?
you have the whole range from people calling you
Hay una gran variedad, desde gente que te llamaba
and saying that you shouldn't say this and that and so.
que te llamaba por teléfono y decía no tendrías que decir esto o aquello,
And then to public slander, that people say that he's just crazy and he's just talking rubbish. Yeah, and then the whole range to death threats.
Amenazas de muerte.
death threats.
Yes.
Sí.
¿Han llegado a atacarle alguna vez físicamente?
Has anybody attacked you physically?
Not really.
No
No,
realmente.
they haven't. But
No.
that's also the scary part.
Pero esa es la parte que da miedo.
And if you get such a death threat,
Si alguna vez te amenazan
your
de muerte,
life changes.
tu vida cambia.
O sea, ¿vive usted con miedo?
So therefore you live scared.
Maybe not scared,
No con
but
miedo,
you change
tal vez.
your practical way of life.
pero cambias tu vida práctica.
If
tu
I
manera de
walk
vivir.
on a train platform, I never walk on the edge,
La forma de en el
but in the middle.
arcén de la vida.
And
del
I
tren.
will never go out in the late evening.
Ajá. O sea, que toma sus precauciones.
So you are taking your precautions.
Yes.
Sí.
The first time I got the death threat, I went to the police, of course, and
Yeah.
then I got a list of recommendations, and I followed that list.
Entonces le dieron una lista de recomendaciones y él la siguió.
¿Y tiene usted idea de quién hay detrás de estas amenazas?
Who is behind these threats?
No.
No.
Nunca le han visitado personalmente.
No, but I very often get anonymous letters, and some of them are delivered at the door.
Y algunas se las dejan en la puerta.
Increíble.
Incredible.
But you know, historically, this is a classical way. I have met scientists in other fields like asbestosis, and they have gone through exactly the same steps, sort of, you know. And if you have seen, for instance, the movie with Julia Roberts, Erin Brockovich,
Si por
She
ejemplo
has
has
a
visto
lot of
Erin
such
Brockovich con Julia Roberts,
experiences.
tuvo muchas de estas experiencias también.
Pero eso era una película.
This was just a movie.
Esto es la realidad.
It was a reality also for
Fue
Erin
también
Brockovich,
real
you know.
para Erin Brockovich.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Existió realmente Erin Brockovich.
¿Tiene algún conocido también, por ejemplo, científico que se haya visto afectado de alguna manera por expresar su opinión, como hace usted?
Like
Yes,
you.
yes. Unfortunately, nowadays this is quite common,
Yes.
especially with the internet.
Desgraciadamente hoy en día esto es muy común, sobre
Many
todo porque hay internet.
persons believe that they have the right to write very slanderous texts about each other. So instead of discussing the science, they talk badly about you and me and so on, which is not democracy should work,
No es así como debería funcionar la democracia.
Estoy de acuerdo.
She agrees.
Creo que en el 2011
I think that in 2011
se le notificó que iban a cerrarle su laboratorio en el instituto.
And so it was.
y lo fue.
¿Qué ocurrió? ¿Lo
Yeah.
cerraron?
Yeah, it's
What
closed.
happened?
It's
Yes.
closed.
Sí,
Yes.
está cerrado.
Yeah.
Ajá.
Yeah.
O sea que no sigue trabajando en el instituto.
¿Tú
Oh,
tampoco?
yes, I'm still there, but
Sí,
the
aún
laboratories were closed.
Pero los laboratorios están cerrados.
And the reason was very simple.
La razón
We
es muy
didn't
simple.
have money.
No teníamos dinero.
Ajá.
If you don't have money, you must leave this.
Si no tienes dinero, tienes que dejar esto.
O sea que tuvo que dejar estas investigaciones.
We do it as good as we can,
Lo hacemos también como sabemos, como
but,
podemos,
in collaboration with other laboratories
en colaboración con otros laboratorios
or at people's homes.
o en las casas de la gente.
But that's not the way professional science should be done.
Claro, tiene usted ahora mismo,
Of course.
hay científicos como usted en todas partes del mundo que o piensen igual que usted en este sentido.
Yes, a lot. Yeah.
Sí,
lot.
mucho.
Yes. So, and that's in a sense a positive problem because every day I get new publications. And a very interesting thing has happened this year, 2013,
Algo muy interesante ha pasado en este año, en 2013,
because, there are other areas of research which has nothing to do with this. And one such area
y una de estas
deals
áreas
with
áreas,
how to repair DNA molecules. And to study such a thing, they must first damage DNA,
y para hacer esto tienen primero que dañar el ADN
and then they generally pour some chemical onto it.
y luego introducir algo químico dentro de esto, del
But
ADN.
it's a very harsh way to do it, clumsy way. So they have looked for years for a non-invasive surgical knife.
A knife. You talk about
Yeah, a
that.
knife sort of that they could use to damage the DNA.
Que podían utilizar para dañar el ADN.
And this year they have found and published such a knife. And this knife gives very severe damages. And the knife they have used are mobile phones. So that's a sensation. When these papers were published, we all reacted because we realized that they don't understand the implications of this. But they are
Ese
telling the
argumento.
world
Pero lo que están haciendo es diciendo al mundo,
that mobile phones will damage the DNA.
lo que están diciendo al mundo es que los teléfonos móviles dañan el ADN.
Estaba diciendo que un móvil es algo así como un arma.
In a sense, yes, or a knife or
De
whatever.
una manera.
It will grind the
Un
DNA to fragments.
Pues yo tenía aquí unas fotos para enseñarle, que creo que es el momento.
She's going to show you some pictures. Now
Yeah.
is the moment.
Alguien me hizo notar.
Is this a friend of yours?
¿Es un amigo suyo?
Sí, es
Sí.
my friend.
Sí,
Yeah.
es amigo suyo.
Alguien me hizo notar que el señor Obama
But you see, he has
no usaba móvil.
wired, yes.
Quizá Obama ha leído estos
Yeah.
estudios.
Maybe Obama has read this document, this
Could be,
publication.
but I would say that they never use mobile phones because it's so easy to track and listen to.
Y
So the
y
Secret
escuchar lo que
Service
se
doesn't
dice.
allow that.
Los servicios secretos no permiten teléfonos
But at the
móviles.
same time, he has a
Entiendo.
good health situation.
Pero al mismo tiempo, eso le hace que tenga una buena salud,
O sea que-
una buena situación de salud.
Sirve para todo esto.
So it's
But-
good for everything.
But we have sent information to the White House.
Pero han enviado información
Pero creo que...
a la Casa Blanca.
¿Conoce a este señor?
Do you know him?
No,
No,
Es el presidente de España.
it's
Okay.
the Spanish
Yeah.
president.
Él
I know who he
no,
is, but
lo
I don't
sabe,
know
él no
him.
lo sabe.
Sabe quién es, pero
Ah.
no lo conoce.
Ok.
You asked if I know him. I don't know him. No.
Quizás él no se preocupa ni por su salud ni porque le espíen. Entonces,
Maybe he's not worried about his health or about if he's being tracked.
But I doubt that he used this for secret calls, you know. I think in his office he has a shielded wide phone as
En
well.
su oficina seguro que tiene un teléfono fijo.
a lo mejor.
Yeah.
Ah,
But it's
maybe.
interesting because it has been shown that the radiation from microwave sources like mobile phones, they will affect your short-term memory and your concentration capacity. So if he doesn't use this,
Si no utiliza esto,
maybe his decisions will be better
tal vez sus decisiones serán mejores
and more intelligent.
y más inteligentes.
Si lo veo, se lo comunicaré.
Sí, she will say to him.
But he's probably a brilliant man.
Pero seguramente que es una persona brillante.
Seguro.
Sure.
He leído también que hay algunos experimentos cruciales
That there are some key experiments.
Yeah.
que deberían hacerse pero que no se hacen. ¿Es correcto?
Is it
It's
correct?
definitely
¿Es correcto?
correct. Yes.
Definitivamente.
Yeah.
¿Por qué?
Why?
I think scientists want to do them, but scientists doesn't get the necessary funding.
Falta dinero.
So there's a lack of money.
Yes, yeah.
Sí.
And not only money, but general sort of know-how and technique and
No solo
communication.
Ajá. Pero quizás sería importante para la raza, para la supervivencia de la raza humana poder
But-
hacerlos.
Yes, and as you know,
Sí, como
the
sabes.
European Parliament, for instance,
El Parlamento Europeo, por
have
ejemplo,
said that immediate action is needed
ha dicho que se necesita una acción inmediata
and nothing happens.
y nada ha pasado.
Talk, 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 but no action.
Hablar, 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 pero nada de acción.
Aquí en España se está hablando ahora mucho de unos nuevos contadores de la luz que nos están instalando.
Okay.
¿Conoce usted la tecnología PLC?
Yes.
Sí.
Yeah.
¿Nos puede hablar un poquito si se conoce algo sobre si es perjudicial o no para la salud?
I suppose we talk about low energy light sources. Is that what you mean? Okay. To begin with,
De
they
acuerdo.
are radio frequent,
Para empezar, son de radiofrecuencia.
somewhere between 70 to 120 kilohertz. And furthermore, in
Y
Sweden,
además, en Suecia,
they have been sold to the customers
han sido
saying
vendidos
that they will save a lot of energy. And I have called the 5 largest energy suppliers in Sweden because my own
compañías
electricity
eléctricas.
bill, the cost is always increasing year after year. And then I called them and said, hey, we have already introduced low energy light bulbs
Hemos,
and my bill is still increasing. And I said, when will I see the savings I will be doing with the reduction in cost? When will I see that? And they just laughed and said, you will never see that. So this is just a complete lie, of course.
o sea que es una mentira, es una completa mentira todo esto.
Where is the savings? I cannot see them.
¿Dónde está el ahorro? No lo ve, no lo veo.
And we have also done some very interesting studies on these light bulbs. When you buy such a light bulb in Sweden, it says that it will hold for more than 10,000 hours. And then we took these light bulbs and put them on a timer, 10 hours a day. And then we counted days.
Contamos los días,
And it was just on 10 hours and off every day.
se encendía durante 10 horas cada día.
And then we discovered that the ones that lasted for the longest period was not even 3,000 hours. And then I got surprised
Me sorprendió.
So I called the consumer organization in Sweden,
Llamé a la organización de consumo en Suecia
and they said that no light bulbs will last for 10,000
y
hours.
dijeron que ninguna bombilla duraría más
And
de
this is
10.000
a big
horas.
problem, the lady said. And she said consumers must protest because this is a big scam.
Pero parece que usted es uno de los pocos consumidores que protesta.
So you are one of the few
Yes.
consumers that protest.
Yeah.
Usted usa mucho el teléfono.
Sí.
Yeah.
You use
Yeah.
a lot of it.
Yeah. But of course, for an ordinary family,
Pero por supuesto para una familia normal.
they would see this advertisement and they would buy low energy light bulbs.
Este anuncio y comprarían las bombillas de bajo consumo.
They will get home and they will use it. And there are American scientists who have investigated this. In a house, you generally put on and off
En una
light
casa,
bulbs
normalmente enciendes y apagas una bombilla
around 2 minutes.
durante 2 minutos.
So it's very much on, off, and then some of these low energy light bulbs only lasted for 50 hours, but they promised 10,000 hours or more,
Pero han prometido 10.000 horas o más.
and they are expensive.
Y son muy caras.
So therefore, these results are actually on the YouTube. You can see how these Americans have
De
investigated
hecho,
this.
actúan los científicos
Caras y
americanos.
peligrosas, porque creo que tienen un campo magnético que también es perjudicial para la salud.
Yes,
Feel that
yes.
is quite dangerous for the
Very
health.
strong, and they
Muy
sometimes
fuerte, sí.
contain chemicals
contiene-
that are very dangerous.
Productos químicos que son muy peligrosos.
Tiene mercurio.
Yeah, for
Mercury.
instance, yes, yeah. And
Por ejemplo, sí.
but in essence, I often, when I think about things like this, I get the feeling that the consumers are completely fooled, and that makes me angry.
Y eso me hace enfadar.
¿Usted utiliza estas bombillas en su casa?
We do because in Sweden, ordinary light bulbs are not allowed to be sold any longer.
Ya no se permiten.
No se permiten,
No.
no
Ya no te
existen.
They don't exist. No.
And it will be the same in the European Union
Y
soon.
pasará lo mismo en la Unión
So they are
Europea.
phased
very pronto.
out.
Pero se
Han
pueden
desaparecido.
usar velas.
Yeah, okay. You will have to use candles, yes.
Yeah, you can use
Yeah.
candles. Sí, podemos usar.
El doctor Samuel Milan
Yes, Samuel Lamb.
ha
Yeah.
publicado un libro que se llama Electricidad sucia. ¿Nos puede explicar lo que es?
Can you explain what is it about?
On the electric grid, you have various forms of electromagnetic disturbances. And according to Sam Milham, he ties them together with various diseases. And of course, some of his ideas are hypotheses. So more research is needed to be done,
Me gustaría hablar de los límites de exposición a los campos electromagnéticos.
Yeah.
¿Los marcan las leyes?
Well, to begin with, they are not decided by any laws.
No se deciden por la ley.
They are just recommendations.
Solo son recomendaciones.
Son recomendaciones,
Yes.
no son leyes.
So if you
They are
go
not law.
over them, nothing happens. You are not put to jail or anything like
Si
that.
no los sigues, no pasa nada, no te pondrán en la cárcel.
Yeah, and therefore I have said that we need real safety levels.
Y es por eso que él ha dicho que necesitamos
That you cannot
realmente
break.
niveles de seguridad que no puedas romper.
Ujú. Pero igualmente creo que son muy altos, o sea, o muy bajos, no sé cuál sería la...
The safety levels, which I have said should be introduced, are the natural background levels.
O sea, cero radiación.
Zero.
Not zero, because in these frequency ranges, there is a natural background from the outer space, actually.
Ajá. Pero sí,
But of course, the reduction will be big because
Pero naturalmente la reducción
the
sería muy grande.
increase the last years has been tremendously large.
Porque el aumento durante esos últimos años ha sido inmenso.
When I give public lectures,
Cuando da conferencias públicas,
I ask the audiences how much more radiation they are affected by now compared to like 10 years ago. And then I just talk about the third generation mobile telephony, nothing else. And once a man was saying that, oh, it's a gigantic increase, it's 100 times more. But the correct
Ahora.
answer is that the increase
Pero-
for public exposure the last 10 years for the 3G, the third generation mobile phone frequencies, is 1 million billion times.
Es
10
de un
up to the
trillón de
power of
veces.
15.
Es de un trillón de veces.
Lo que ha aumentado.
The increase is
1 million billion
a
times.
billion times.
Además, creo que esta contaminación en el cuerpo humano es acumulativa, ¿no?
Yeah.
Y que es cumulative.
American scientists,
Sí.
if we go back to the DNA effects, have shown it's cumulative.
Y hay que sumar los efectos de todas las tecnologías.
And we have to add to this the effects of all the technology.
Of course,
Por
yes.
ejemplo,
Yeah.
en una casa, el móvil, el teléfono inalámbrico,
For example, the mobile phone in a
el
house,
wifi,
Wi-Fi,
los electrodomésticos,
appliances,
la red eléctrica,
the
los
electrical
contadores de
web,
luz. ¿Alguien ha sumado
the light
esto?
counter.
And TV and radio.
TV and radio.
Yeah. So you are now polluting the world.
¿Alguien ha sumado toda esta tecnología
Anybody
para
has-
saber a qué estamos expuestos realmente?
Just in general terms,
En términos generales,
if you look on the microwave range,
si vemos la escala de microondas,
then the increase is 1 million,
Vemos-
million times.
vemos que el aumento es de un trillón de veces.
Do you see? It's 1 and 18 zeros
Yeah.
times
180
higher.
trillion.
So, I mean, you can just imagine if the small birds outside one morning would have increased their voice strength by this number, then one bird this size would completely destroy the Barcelona to sand. The sound shock would just be unbelievable.
El-
And we wouldn't allow that,
Y no lo permitiríamos.
but we allow the microwaves to be increased in that range. And we believe that the evolution has given us a protection,
Y creemos que la evolución nos ha dado una protección,
which it hasn't.
pero no es verdad.
And I hope
Y
that it
espero-
will turn out to be completely safe, but if not,
Pero si no,
not so fun.
no será muy divertido.
O sea que desearía estar equivocado.
So you wish to be wrong.
Of course, yeah.
Por
It's
supuesto.
like, I look upon myself as a mental fire brigade soldier. And, the ordinary fire brigade,
Bombero normal,
if it comes here,
si viene aquí
and if it's a false alarm,
y una falsa alarma,
then we are very happy, and they are too.
estamos muy contentos y ellos también.
So I hope I'm wrong, and I
que espero
hope
que-
you will be happy then.
Que estoy equivocado y que tú también estarás
Yeah.
contenta.
But if it turns out that we were right and we
Pero-
didn't say anything, and it was, as I said yesterday, that when I die, I want to feel that I did as good as I can, not that I could have done better.
Para dormir tranquilo.
To sleep well.
Yes,
Sí.
it's the same with the ordinary fire brigade soldiers. Just imagine one of them coming home thinking, oh, I
Imagínalo de
could have
ellos-
saved that kid, but I
imagínalo de
didn't.
ellos diciendo, podría haber salvado a este niño, pero no lo he hecho.
¿Podría estar relacionado con esta sensación de estrés permanente en el que vivimos todos?
Indeed so. Many
Seguramente
people
tanto.
today live a very artificial life.
Mucha gente hoy en día vive una vida artificial.
Not in Spain maybe, but
Tal vez
in
no en España,
Sweden, very artificial.
pero en Suecia muy artificial.
People are extremely stressed,
Si usted está en lo cierto,
Si, if you are right,
¿se están tomando las medidas suficientes para que
Not now, but
No.
I hope they will.
pero espera que algún día.
confía en que en el futuro estemos a tiempo?
I hope so, yes.
Espera que sí.
And mankind has often changed its behavior. If you would have interviewed me in 1955, we would all have been smoking now.
Habríamos estado fumando todos.
But today,
Pero
it's
ahora
very uncommon to see that in Sweden.
no es
Extremely
común
uncommon.
en Suecia
But
ver eso.
in the 50s, everyone was doing
Pero en
it.
los años
And
50
it
todo el
was
mundo.
regarded safe and sexy.
Y se veía seguro y sexy.
Yeah. So, and today, the contrary, you know. But at the same time,
Y ahora lo contrario.
when you watch the TV news, for instance, it's always about negative things.
Siempre son sobre cosas negativas,
You know, catastrophes, wars,
guerras,
diseases,
enfermedades,
that kind of things, and
esta clase de
very
cosas.
rarely about positive things. And when I have been here now for several days in Spain,
Y ahora que he estado unos
I
días
have
aquí en España,
only encountered very positive
solo
situations.
he encontrado situaciones positivas.
People are very friendly, very nice, very intelligent.
La gente es muy amistosa,
And they take
muy
care of each
amable, muy inteligente, se cuidan los unos a los
But you never
otros.
see that on the TV news.
Pero nunca ves eso en las noticias de
So you
televisión.
have to try to select your life.
Entonces debes seleccionar un poco, elegir un poco en tu vida.
And also, of course, ask yourself,
Y también como tú misma,
do I need to have an electric toothbrush? Do I need to whip the cream electrically?
No.
Do I need a
algo
mobile
eléctrico.
phone?
¿necesito el teléfono móvil?
So you have to decide for yourself.
La cuestión es si estaremos a tiempo.
When I talk with human beings, I always say, yes, we have.
Sí,
When I
tenemos
talk
tiempo.
with plants and animals, I always say, I hope we won't have time, because they will be saved then
Porque entonces ellos estarán
if we are gone.
si ya no estamos aquí.
But, you know, biology is not so selective.
Pero la biología no es tan selectiva.
So if we disappear,
Si desaparecemos,
we will take with us a lot of other organisms, unfortunately.
¿Podría ser que mutásemos
Oh, yeah.
en
Yeah.
alguna otra
Sí.
especie
Yeah.
todavía peor?
in another worst species.
Yeah, even worse one, you know. Yes,
Sí,
I
podría ser
know,
mucho
yeah,
peor.
yeah.
Sí.
So,
Mejor desaparecer entonces.
Better to disappear.
yeah, better to disappear
Mejor
or
desaparecer.
start to behave like biological beings. In Sweden, I would love to start an institute of common sense. And you are warmly invited to be part of that, you know.
Y tú estás invitada a participar en
We need brilliant
en
brains.
este
Yeah.
instituto. Necesitamos cerebros
Muchas
brillantes.
gracias.
Thank you very much.
Vale, ¿cuál sería el título
Ok.
de la primera clase que daríamos?
Oh, wow. That's a good question.
Buena pregunta.
Oh, I don't know.
No sé.
No one has ever used really common sense. We have to sit down and discuss this, you
Tendríamos
know.
que sentarnos y
Lo haremos,
debatir.
Yeah.
lo haremos.
But you know, for instance, when
Who
I
will we?
watch Swedish television and I see yet a program with one of these big apes, the orangutans in Borneo, dying
Muriéndose.
because we need to have soap and shampoos and makeup.
Porque necesitamos tener maquillaje, jabones.
Then I get really angry, I must say, you know.
champús.
I get so
Entonces me
angry. I don't want to
enfado.
see any more programs like that.
No quiero ver más programas de
If we use common sense, they will live. If we don't, they will die.
Creo que es un buen final,
This is a good end.
Oh, thank you.
Gracias.
pero si
But
quiere decir algo más, le
If
invito.
you want to add something.
No, it's just a great honor to be here. Thank you so
No,
much.
es un gran honor estar
Yeah.
aquí. Muchas gracias.
Yeah, and it has been wonderful to be here.
Y ha sido maravilloso estar
Yeah,
aquí.
indeed. Thank you.
Profundamente.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you.